We are very, very honored this morning to have one of Morgan's finest as the keynote speaker for the 2016 Founders Day Convocation. Kevin Liles is a contemporary version of the dream that can be made, quote unquote, only in America. And he has committed his extraordinary professional life to enabling others to live out their dreams as well. He has also devoted his personal life to philanthropy and community activism that promotes empowerment and education among the youth in Baltimore City, the nation, and indeed the world, so that they too can realize their dreams. Yes, he was born and raised on the west side of Baltimore City. Kevin Liles began his own record company at the age of 15. And 3 years later, he enrolled as a member of Morgan State University's first classes of engineering students. And by the age of 19, he became manager of World Connections Travel, which was at the time a 400-employee telemarketing agency. And immediately thereafter, he made his entry and began his incredible ascent in the recording industry. Beginning as an unpaid intern, I want the students to hear that. Beginning as an unpaid intern at Def Jam Recordings in 1991, within 7 years, he has skyrocketed to his top leadership position as Chief Executive Officer and President. There, he doubled the revenues of Def Jam to $400 million. He expanded the company from creating and promoting music into producing film and video games and clothing and television. While at Def Jams, he launched several spin-off labels such as Def Jam South, Def Jam West, Def Soul, Rockefeller, Rough Riders, Disturbing Da Peace. That is right, Disturbing Da Peace, and Murder Inc. While at Def Jams, he also globalized the brands of such artists today as Jay-Z, Kanye West, Trey Songz, Fetty Wap, D'Angelo. I think I better stop there. While at Def Jams, he also supervised the sale and the integration of Def Jam with the parent company, Universal Music Group. In 2004, Kevin Liles became Executive Vice President at Warner Music Group, where he spearheaded its 360-degree strategy and grew revenues there from $1 million to $200 million. 6 years after joining Warner, he became founder and CEO of KWL Enterprises, which is a strategic holding company anchored by the brand and talent development firm KLW Management. There he promoted and developed the careers of some of the biggest names in the entertainment and sports industry today. In 2014, Kevin Liles moved to his current position as co-founder and parent of 300 Entertainment, an independent entertainment company. And while becoming a major figure in the hip-hop recording trade, Kevin Liles in 2006 did not forget those great academic lessons he learned here at Morgan. He published a book, a highly acclaimed self-help business book called Make It Happen, the Hip-Hop Generation Guide to Success. And he also was the lead producer of the Broadway play, which I saw, and it was just incredible, The Trip to Bountiful, which won Cicely Tyson her first Tony Award. Kevin Liles, yes, that's to be applauded. He has really been quite busy since he's left Morgan State University. He is the founder of Kevin Liles for a Better Baltimore, which aims to empower disadvantaged youth. He is the founder of Make It Happen Foundation, which encourages education, entrepreneurship, and empowerment of youth around the world. And he is partnered with Verizon in the Minority Male Maker Program, which has lofty goals of pushing young men in middle schools here in Baltimore and around the nation towards STEM careers. In short, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Liles is a hip-hop and popular music industry magnet. He is a magnet extraordinaire with an equally extraordinary legacy as philanthropist and crusader for the education and empowerment of our nation's youth. He is a superb example, students, of a Morganite who is making a difference in this world. And for all of those extraordinary achievements and many more that I have not mentioned this morning, Morgan State University proudly awarded him the honorary Doctor of Laws degree at our May 2016 commencement ceremonies. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it really gives me and the Board of Regents, our faculty, our entire university community pleasure this morning in welcoming magnet extraordinaire Kevin Liles back home. Please join me in welcoming Kevin Liles.
That was long. God is good. I said God is good. I'm home. I'm a follower of teleprompter a little bit, but I have something on my heart, so I have to speak. So thank you for the kind introduction. It feels good to be home. It's good to breathe the air, see the people, and feel the spirit of the city that raised me. So in the last 2 weeks, I was at Soundstage at a sold-out show with my band, Highly Suspect. I was at M&T Stadium to see the Ravens whoop up on the Steelers. I ate at Moe's Seafood House. I don't own it, I just love it. And last night, I got the opportunity to hang out with my good friend, Jeffrey, at Ramshead, AKA Young Thug. As I look out, we're in the presence of so many notable and important Morgan State leaders today. University President, and I call a good friend, Dr. David Wilson, the Chairman of the Board of Regents, Honorable Kwaisi Mfume, Regent Reverend Dr. Francis Murphy Draper, Regent Winston A. Wilkinson, and our student regent, Mr. Matthew Reeds. Please give them all a round of applause. To all Morgan State faculty, alumni, students, and guests, good morning, and thank you for the honor of inviting me to address this celebration of Morgan State on our Founders Day. No matter where I am in life, in my career that's left with a music executive, entrepreneur, philanthropist, I will always be a Morgan State Bear. Like all of you, this is a very special place for me. I once was a local kid, a good local kid, Mom, growing up in West Baltimore. For those of you who grew up nearby, I don't have to tell you what it was like growing up in the 80s here in Baltimore. Kids like me in my neighborhood were more likely to be a statistic than a success story. But if we think about life like a ladder, the scholarship I received to study electrical engineering from Morgan State wasn't just another rung on my ladder of life. It was like a safety harness that dropped from above, helping me to ease the burden. I didn't have to worry about what was behind me. I was able to focus on my future and what was in front of me. The ability to focus on the path in front of me was so critical to where I am today, because forward is where progress is made. Forward is where we live in the next moment of our lives. And forward is the place where we live out our dreams and ambitions. So on this Founders Day, as we look back and reflect on Morgan State's proud history of accomplishments, our proud history of accomplishments, let's talk about moving forward. The thing I love most about Morgan is that it's not just a place. Yes, there are buildings and classrooms, a lot better looking buildings and classrooms when I came here, and venues like this one, but to me, Morgan State is a living thing. It's a consistently evolving organism that's growing and adapting, buzzing with energy of youth and knowledge and possibility. And every day, whether here in Baltimore or somewhere in the world, a new chapter in Morgan State's history is written by its students, its faculty, and its graduates. And in some cases, Morgan State Bears aren't simply writing a new chapter in the university's history, they are writing their own verse, their own 16 bars in the long and never-ending song of human existence. Now I know everyone in this room has their stories about Morgan State and how this institution has left an indelible imprint on them. When I reflect on my own experiences, Morgan State, I see it at this time in my life when the fire in my belly went to supernova. And the hunger of greatness, that desire to change the headlines, to be positive and focus on the possibilities instead of the impossibilities. As part of Morgan State's first class of engineers, I learned how to be disruptive, but be constructive. It's okay to disrupt, but make sure you're building something. I also learned from Dean Deloach. He did retire. Did he retire? Somewhat. Oh, half retired. Okay. Okay, he's still here? Okay. For a few more months? All right, I'm gonna throw him a party. Okay. So, from a Dean Deloach and my advisor at Woodlawn, Professor Woolfolk, I learned it's not about what the world offers you. I learned about figuring what do you have to offer the world? What is your existence here? And outside the classroom, I learned the power of building relationships early in life that pay dividends for decades. For all of this, I'm so very grateful to the institution that's been essential in my life and in the lives of so many others. Of course, my own story, alumni know these stories because we attend classes with so many people who went on to do great things. But I wonder how many of you current students who might be freshmen coming in know that you're walking in the halls shoulder to shoulder with future giants of industry, government, academia, military, athletics. Our university's chairman of the Board of Regents, the Honorable Kwesi Mfume, and former congressman and president of the NAACP, he led fellow students before he led the nation. Give him a round of applause. He also used to tell me in high school, when I was with his son, when I did bad. So, Earl Graves Sr., the founder of Black Enterprise Magazine, took the same economics 101 class you might take. General Kip Ward, an Army 4-star general, honed his mind and body in the same places you do. Although I have to say the gym is a much nicer gym today. I'm not saying it was good, you made it better. But seriously, I could do this all day. Wilson Goode, former mayor of Philadelphia. Clarence Mount, the first African-American majority leader of Maryland State Senate. Former U.S. Congressman Perrin Mitchell of Maryland. Olympic gold medalist Rochelle Stevens. Robert Bell, the first African-American chief judge of the Maryland Court of Appeals. And my friend and Baltimore City Mayor-elect, Catherine Pugh. Give her a big round of applause. The point is, once you enrolled in Morgan State, your future is only capped by the limits of your dreams and your willingness, in the theme of my speech, to put in the work. So let's talk today of what it means to dream and put in the work. Let's talk about what it means to remember back and look forward. And let's talk about how this special place, this second home of ours, turns impossibilities into possibilities. Because whether you're a student, alumni, faculty, or anyone else connected to Morgan State, this is the place that changed us, that moved us, that inspired us to be more. Because for me, I can imagine many of alumni joining us on this special day. Our lives can be defined in two halves: before Morgan, after Morgan. A time of impossibilities versus a time of endless possibilities. Now I want to start off by speaking directly to the students. There are a whole lot of accomplished people and alumni here today. And you probably run up to one of us and say, how do I reproduce the success you enjoyed? How do I do what you have done? How do I follow your path? You know, some of us up here, we laugh because really at the end of the day, the answer is this: don't be us, be you. Be you and do you. If I did what they told me I could do, I would have stayed in Baltimore, worked 75 years or 50 years, and got a Social Security and been okay. But I had a bigger dream. That's right, you don't want to be like me. You see, I'm a living organism that is evolving every day. And quiet as kept, I'm still not the best version of me. That's why God has me here today. To enjoy the success in your life, you want to focus on being the best evolving you. Learning should not only be what you do in school, it should be your way of life every single day. That's what Morgan State alumni did. Monique, she, a good friend of mine, she is someone who survived before she thrived. You talk about someone who struggled long before she was recognized globally for her talent. You want to talk about impossibilities becoming possibilities? That's the story of Monique. But before Hollywood embraced her, she was a Morgan State student with a dream. And guess what she did? Put in the work. That's what Morgan State alumni and New York Times journalist William Roden knows too. After graduating from Morgan State, he worked his way up to secure a job at the New York Times. After 9 years of proving himself as one of the most skilled reporters in America, he was named Sports of the Times columnist until retiring last year, like Jim Brown, at the top of his game. He spent 26 years as the lead sports columnist at the most influential newspaper in the world. But before all that, he was a Morgan State student with a dream. And guess what he did? Put in the work. The way to success is to build your own path. It's you having your dream. It's putting it in the sweat equity and living it out. It's you put it in your work. That's how you turn an impossibility into a possibility. That's how you create your own luck, your own opportunities, your own destiny, and your own path to success. But right here at Morgan State, this is where it all starts. Your journey to success. It's right here where you develop habits like never missing an opportunity to learn. Some of us fall asleep in life and opportunity passes you by, and you miss it because you're not open. That means developing a point of view that every failure lays an opportunity. Every time you come up short, the universe is telling you to grow before the next step in your life. Every no and every door shut in your face should be a catalyst for you to find a new way, your own way. I like to refer to young people today as Generation E. That's because this generation's path to success is all about education, entrepreneurship, and empowerment. Generation E are the ones that are hiring, building wealth, enabling others to achieve greatness. I won't pretend this happens overnight. Along the way, I had to embrace a lot of struggles. I'm not sure it's possible to overstate the importance of the practice for young people to start today of embracing the struggle. One of my clients, Fetty Wap, funny y'all, he went to one record company after another. Because he had glaucoma and lost his left eye, people refused to consider his music and his message. So Fetty Wap, along with RGF, found their own way. He embraced the struggle, persevered, and last year was nominated for 2 Grammys and was the first artist in history to stream 1 billion streams before his album was released. He found his own way. He signed to me, but he found his own way. Tell you what, consider taking a job that no one else wants and own it. Make it yours. I wasn't born into the role of a music executive. I hustled my way up every day, every minute, every hour, and guess what? I put in the work. When I was starting out 25 years ago, if Russell asked me to get him a cup of coffee, I didn't just make him a cup of coffee. I made him the best coffee he ever had, and faster than anybody else. By embracing that small job and thousands of others like it, I learned through humility and hustle that never leaves your DNA, no matter how high you get. I'm reminded of a favorite quote by Reverend Dr. King: if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep them streets. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry, he should sweep streets so well that a host of heaven and earth will pause to say, yo, here lies here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. The street sweeper put in the work. Of course, Morgan State graduates go on to much greater things, but wherever your life calls you and takes you, please be great and be excellent. And once you have become great, there's a responsibility you have to reach down that ladder and help the next person up. That's what Morgan State did for me, and that's why I'm here standing before you today, because I truly believe with success comes responsibility. Like I mentioned before, I grew up in West Baltimore, Pressman Street, Kevin Liles Drive. I stood along, I had to say that, Mom. I stood a long better chance of getting shot or being thrown in jail than getting an education at an institution like this, much less than a respectable, decent job. Now, I love my city, but Baltimore has witnessed more than its fair share of young men and women becoming statistics. I don't need to tell you all this. Some of these people were my friends, and your family members. But I did have a few things going for me. I was blessed to have two parents to tell me, I believe in myself, therefore I am what I believe myself to be. I had grandparents that imparted wisdom and encouragement more times than I count. And of course, I had God's grace. Still, when it comes to me, the things I can control in this life, nothing has been more important in my personal and professional success than my mindset. Not the greatest talent in the world, may not be the smartest person in the world, may not be the most charismatic person in the world, but my mindset, I wake up every day, put on the black gloves and black eye and say, I'm gonna make it happen. By any means necessary, I'm gonna make it happen. So when you reach down from Morgan State to a kid from West Baltimore who was good in math and loved a little music, when I received that electrical engineering scholarship through NASA to be a part of the first class of electrical engineers at Morgan State, I knew I was on my way. I also knew I had to put in the work. That's the thing that's often lost in our political discourse when we talk about hands out. Most folks just need a hand up. When politicians use rhetoric like takers and makers to divide us, they not only forget our long and ugly history in America and the aristocracy that took the freedom, our lives, and dignity of our ancestors, of the majority of the people in this room. Today, they overlook the reality of both low income and inequality, and corporate profits have never been higher than they are now. So I don't want to pretend that this topic is not on everybody's mind, the presidential election. It's an issue that's front and center. See, I know it's not polite to talk about politics or people or religion in front of strangers, but you guys are not strangers to me. You're going to be family today. I'm not going to mince my words. I haven't been edited by the university or anything. For those of you who treasure our civil liberties, for those of you who are who are proud of standing in our own world, and for those of you who want to live in America where Black lives matter, where Latino lives matter, where all lives matter, we have a long 4 years ahead of us. But, let me shake it off. But this, too, will pass. This nation, this country, this university, your community will survive. And the reason I'm confident about it, because the people in this room, and the spirit that's in this room. Because where we come from, 4 years can't compare to the 400 we endured. Say so. 4 years ain't nothing. We are stronger and better together. And being very real with you, I had a hard thing to do yesterday. I had to explain to my 5-year-old why being the most qualified woman for a position of power wasn't good enough to be the president of the United States. I had to explain that to her. Now I see you clapping and you folks feel the same way. It was kind of awkward feeling to me because I tell her every day, you can be anything you want to be. We should never let ourselves forget how this moment feels. You'll be reminded over the next 4 years how this moment feels. But see, I think that we got caught up in our own hype. We had elected President Obama twice. We had a black man in the White House for 8 years. We thought we lived in a different America. And we thought that we were so happy that 7 million voters who voted in 2012 did not vote. 46.9% of the eligible population did not vote. And you talk about majority. So while people sat on the sideline this past election, you'll be reminded over the next 4 years. We forgot that when we secured victories of civil rights in the 1960s, the forces of hate and discrimination didn't go quietly. We're still getting discriminated against now. They pushed back hard. We forgot the words of Shirley Chisholm that if nothing else, the one thing we have going for us is our one vote. But I'm here to claim today, never again. Never again. Never again will I take a moment for granted when I sit at a podium to say, vote. 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 But we must not despair. We must sharpen our resolve. And as my good friend Secretary Clinton said in her gracious remarks, let us have faith in each other. Let us not grow weary. Let us not lose heart, for there are more seasons to come, and there's more work to do. And there will be another female that runs for president, and we will elect her the first female president of the United States of America. The work that went into the election didn't end in 2 days. It continues. It continues every day. It's the work you put in before you arrived here at Morgan State. And it's the work you do every day when you leave. It's fighting for justice, jobs, and an America that you are proud to live in. Our work goes on because it's not simply African Americans who are threatened. It's our Muslim brothers and sisters. It's Hispanics, immigrants, it's women, it's countless others. Our work goes on because the future we want will not happen on its own. Our work goes on because it takes more than just thought. It takes putting in the work. In America and at Morgan State, we stand on the shoulders of giants. We're sitting in the shade of trees that were planted long before a lot of us were born. When we look back at the history of Morgan State and the history of America, there's an awful lot to be proud about. It's incredible where we are today from where we once started, but someone had to put in the work. And now it's been handed to us. The next chapter of America, the next chapter of Morgan State is ours to write. To borrow from my guy Barack Obama, President Barack Obama, we're the ones we've been waiting for. And just like your own lives, its potential is only capped by our dreams and our willingness to put in the work. So let me close today by talking about what we can do and what we must do. When people talk about colleges and universities, they often talk about in abstract ways that reduces several profoundly influential years into a few bullet points. For example, on your resume, you list your GPA, your major, and maybe some relevant classes you took or extracurricular activities you participated in. But what we all know that Morgan State didn't simply provide you with a formal education. It provided you with an education about life. Yes, your formal education in classrooms has made you more employable, opened up new doors for personal achievement, and broadened your minds, but regardless of whether you came away preferring Martin or Malcolm, Ellison or Morrison, Baldwin or Baraka, we all know there was another education you received, an education only possible at a historically black university like Morgan State. And while I hold Morgan State near and dear in my heart, I know there are so many other graduates of HBCUs who have profound experiences like mine. Regardless of whether you're a proud alumni of Morgan State, Jackson State, Howard University, Morehouse, or any of the other fine establishments across America, you've been granted a special gift to spend your days growing and learning at a true second home. Now, it's true, the original reason for establishing HBCUs, an explicit policy of educational disenfranchisement for no longer exists today. Across this nation, there are countless public and private universities where black young men and women enjoy formative educational experiences. For that reason, some folks have questions if HBCUs are still needed in modern America, given their progress by society today. But 150 years has defined that we are necessary, and that we will be here long after I'm gone. To the contrary with me, I would like to make the argument that HBCUs are needed more than ever, especially after what happened on Tuesday. Yes, Jim Crow, poll taxes, and segregated education has been regulated to a distant bygone era. For that, we have an immeasurable debt that we owe our elders and forebears who led the strong struggle for dignity and equality. Still, we shouldn't pretend we don't have a long way to go in a nation to fulfill the dream of Dr. King and the promise of our founding fathers that liberty and justice for all. All we need to do is look at what comes to pass in New York, in Ferguson, Baltimore, Charlotte, Dallas, Milwaukee. I could go on, but sadly, it's probably easier for me to list cities that nothing happened in. The past few years have shown us all that we must stand up and demand that Black lives matter and HBCUs matter. In his recent book, Between the World and Me, the celebrated author and cultural critic Ta-Nehisi Coates, a graduate of Howard, wrote, "There's something to be found there, a base even these modern times, a port in American storm. Make no mistake, HBCUs play an essential, irreplaceable role in fostering intellectual curiosity, self-discovery, community building in ways that conventional higher education institutions can't match. HBCUs represent a melting pot of boundless energy that originated on the African continent. Energy introduced to the nations surrounding colonies by force and held under yoke of slavery and then Jim Crow for centuries. Today, you're a living embodiment of the energy and legacy, and you're stronger citizens and leaders by sharing your experiences at a HBCU. You see, at institutions like Morgan State, there's no need to explain the countless indignities ingrained in American experience for African Americans. You're not reflexively looked on for your opinion as America's latest spasm of racially motivated terrorism. Here you can let your guard down. Here you can focus on learning, self-discovery, and personal growth. You're not pressured to be an ambassador for the opinions of interests of all African Americans. You can truly be yourself. This is a gift and an advantage your friends might not have had going to other schools. It's a luxury that you want to enjoy but not take for granted. But remember this, no matter where you go in life, no matter where you plant your roots, you'll always have a second home at Morgan State. To that end, I encourage you to give back to Morgan State. We've been talking a lot today about reaching down the ladder to help the next person. This is where you do it. This is where it's most impact and living embodiment of that truth. And when I say giving back, that doesn't mean that you have to do it in form of writing checks. Hold up, Doc. But before you say anything. Now, I know I got a dirty look and everything behind me from my guy, but I truly have to say, you have to put in the work to write a check. In fact, that's why I write a check every year to Morgan State, repaying the endless debt that I owe Morgan. But if you're a new graduate and money might be tight for you or you're just coming, look for other ways to give back. Seek out HBCU graduates for internships. Answer those emails and calls seeking career advice, and return to campus for homecoming to remind yourself of personal growth and relationship that this university enabled. This place and every HBCU is a special place, but just like America and just like in life, you want to be great. You need to earn it. You need to put in the work. You need to work for it. You need to invest in it. You need to personally, again, put in the work. In closing, if I leave you with anything today, and this goes for students, alumni, faculty, and my colleagues, it's the best way to honor the founder's dream is to put in the work. The way we honor those who came before us, the ones who our children and grandchildren look up to with admiration and wonder, is to put in the work. Behind us is the path created by those who dreamed impossible dreams and toiled every day of their lives to build a better university, a better America, and a better lives for their children. The real lesson we learn from our founders is service. When you dedicate your life to serving others faithfully and purposefully, you find personal and professional greatness, no matter what you do. Believe in your mind and heart that I will change the world and nothing can stand in your way. Because friends, legacies are built brick by brick and putting in the work. The way you live your life determines whether you provide a solid foundation for your children or leave them on unsteady footing. It's your personal responsibility, but also your personal opportunity to put in the work. Your dreams are the limit of what you can achieve. So I ask you today, work hard, dream big, dream forever, always dream of the possibilities, and I need you to say it with me, put in the work. Thank you, guys.